Good morning, everyone. Sorry about that. Having a few technical difficulties here this morning. Bear with me. Okay, screen share, come on. All right. I think we should have everything up and running correctly now. Welcome to our Thursday morning trading room. All right, here while I got the daily chart nearby, let's take a look at yesterday's session. A crazy session, really. Here, let's move away from the daily for a second. Let's take a look at a 5-minute chart. And this was pretty much, yeah, right back here it started. So February 20th, the market's opening right about here. Okay, very, very quiet through the morning session as we saw, and then things really getting volatile in the afternoon, a huge move lower, counter move higher, another move lower, another move higher, and here we are beginning the day with a bit of a rally bar, but right in the middle of all this mess. Now you can see, going back to the daily, what kind of day that resulted in. Just a really, really small doji bar. And notice that we're getting several inside trading days. These are days that trade within the previous day's trading range, or in this case, the last couple of days, are all within the very, very tight trading range of this really small bar right here. Volume is increasing a little bit, so there is a breakout coming. I think that's one thing we can kind of be on the lookout for. That's why it's helpful to keep an eye on your volume. Volume, unfortunately, can be a difficult indicator to get a handle on, but yet it is very informative. Alrighty, well, let's wait and see here. It's still very early. Like I said, there was a little bit of a uptick out of the open, this little rally right here. Overall, the market still in a downtrend from the overnight, you can see. Actually resulted in a little bit of an upside gap, which I don't know if we've quite filled it yet, or got to be pretty close. I suppose this could be interpreted as your first in-sync signal, the trading band being a little bit bearish. There's your first signal to sell. Decent follow through on that here on the Eagle. But we're only, like I say, 5 minutes into the day. Actually, before I leave the Eagle, what do you think? Do we want to call this a trading range? If we call that a trading range, this now is the breakout and the retest. And as you know, once we get the breakout and the retest, we know where to place our continuation order. This is our order to continue with the trend if the trend continues this direction, of course. And if it does not continue lower with the trend, then there's a pretty good chance that we're going to see a reversal and potentially a move higher. Now you can bracket the swing, the retest. This is a little bit of a sloppy retest. We've kind of drifted halfway back inside this trading range, which technically makes the market a little bit more neutral. But if we get a couple of bars, there we go. We now have a couple of bars lower. This is actually a hard edge bounce now. A red bar sell off of the hard edge tends to be a pretty reliable signal in its own part. But we can also bracket this market now to buy above that swing there. So if the trend does not continue, now we really have the market in a bit of a bind. Now this is a fairly aggressive posture that I'm taking on the market. But the structure behind it is sound. The structure behind the trade is sound. The Hawk waffling a little bit here, getting some yellow bars. The Falcon also beginning to get that little bit of a roller coaster effect. The Raptor gave us a nice little hard edge bounce signal back here. That's that number 3 signal. Looks like we're going to come back with yet another number 3 signal. There we go. It's working the number 3 signal right now. So there is the opportunity to tighten up this trade, but I'm just looking here at the Bollinger Band suite, and we're kind of in the middle there, suggesting a little bit of neutrality. With the BB suite, what you want to see is you want to see it get outside of the band, and that would suggest the market will be more inclined to trend. All right, we may be producing a number 2 signal. There we go. So we've had the retest of the lows. Now we're going to produce a number 2 signal to buy. And you can see we actually had a little confirmation down here in the BB suite to buy earlier than this last swing. And I may choose to adjust my entry a little bit if I get a second push opportunity on that. A little hesitation here at the 70.55 secondary support line. All right, the waffling continues. The BB suite now a little bit more bearish, so we've also produced the number 1 signal. Once again, I don't want to get too aggressive on this. Oh, looks like they're going to test the bottom end. All right, they filled us. Now, my high probability profit target would be very close here to the secondary support line down here at 70.31. Actually, I don't need to swing for the fences today. We'll just throw a profit order in there. And I'll manage this trade here from the Raptor. All right, here we go. Another slight little hesitation. Give me one more bar and I'll go to break even. Come on, you can do it. All right, I'm going to roll anyways here, closer to the hard edge, reduce my initial risk a little. All right, seller's got to show up. All right, so we'll take the trade now down to break even. The seller's recommitted to their move lower. Actually, I think 70.30-ish is very close to yesterday's lows if you wanted to try to run this one out further. There is a good chance if we break this secondary support zone that we could get down here to the 7,007 3/4 zone. All right, I'm going to lock in a little bit more profit. I'm not really happy about the hesitation I'm seeing. Yay! Oh, and look at that. There's that little bit of a follow through that I was talking about. But you know what? I'm all right taking the profit on target. I made that mistake yesterday. I did not want to repeat it today. Sometimes, most times, we're better off just taking your open profit when you have it. All right, one for the good guys. That's us. Now, as I've mentioned to you before, but for the benefit of those who have not heard my little sermon about the positive attributes of limiting your trading exposure. If I were looking to make $100 a day trading per contract, well, I just made my objective. In fact, I think that trade was $175. So earning more money does not rely on you trading more often. Rather, earning more money relies on you increasing your leverage in the market. So as your account size grows, instead of just trading a single contract, you can get yourself to the point where you can trade 2 contracts, and then 3, and then 5, and 7, and so on it goes. So instead of making $100 on that trade, if you're trading 2 contracts, that's 200, 5 contracts, that's 500, 7 contracts, that's 700, and so on it goes. Nicely done. Mark picking up a late filter entry signal here on the Falcon. I'm going to assume it was this one over here. So the late filter occurs when the filter goes out of sync, comes back into sync, the trend line not changing color. And nice little move lower as a result. Nice little double tap on the other side of the support and resistance zone right here. A little bit more obvious here on the Falcon. So looks like we will try to press down to that next support zone, which was near the 7,008 area. Okay, a little bit more follow through on that move. And are we getting a little bit of a bottom now? Kind of across the board, the BB suite getting a little bit more bullish here now. We've got a number 2 signal to buy on the Raptor. The Raptor is going to be one of the early counter trend indicators. I do believe the trend still to be down. So here's just a little trick, if you will, for lack of a better word. If you think the trend is down, every time you see the market hesitate, you can put a just in case order to continue with the trend. So even though right now everything is looking bullish, except for visually here on the chart, the trend is down, you could always just keep an order there in anticipation of a move lower. In fact, I can even use the trade calculator for that. And here, let's move that just a little bit lower. And I'll get my exit order out of the way and adjust my stop order. There we go. That's a little better. So this now is simply my just in case order, just in case the market continues with the trend. but this can only be done if you suspect you have a trending environment. If you don't think the market is trending, if the market is just kind of in that sideways chop zone, you need to avoid this strategy. Okay, here we go. We got another number 3 signal forming off of the hard edge. If you want it to be a little bit more aggressive on your entry, you now have the opportunity to draw a trend line here. This will act like a bear flag. A breakout below this trend line should encourage more selling. It's effectively a second push on the number 3 signal as well. Yeah, Mark's. I would agree with you, Mark. It's he writes. It looks like the market may be poised to head lower today. I would not be all that surprised to see a move back here to the 70-50 zone first, though. And I only say that because of the quick way the market fell off here. A lot of times you'll see some buying back to where the market started, that little move lower, just to test the seller's resolve. But I would agree. I think the trend, right now we're looking at a more bearish day overall. And of course, now that I've said it, now that it's on the record, just watch the market rally like there's no tomorrow. All right, a little bit of a bearish break there. Effectively another number 3 signal. It did not print as a number 3 signal because we're probably just a tick short here of the hard edge, but that's what it is. It is a number 3 signal. The BB suite now in sync a little bit better. All right, there we go. We got the fill. Let's bring my exit order back to where it's supposed to be. No! This is the problem with getting back into the market too many times. You see here the BB suite turning bullish. Got to see this support, or pardon me, resistance area hold. And I don't want my stops too tight. The worst thing that can happen to me at this point is that the market breaks these highs by a tick or two, only to reverse and start heading the other way again. You stinkers. Not holding out a whole lot of hope for this trade. So this essentially built itself into a sideways trading range. Here's the breakout. This is the retest. Obviously the breakout not holding. So there's a chance we're going to see the market go higher from here. We just found the bottom. Oh, don't tell me you guys are going to reverse from here now. Reverse and head lower again. Add a little insult to injury. Oh, look at that. See what I said? They'll tag you by a couple of ticks and then try to head the other way. That's all right. We'll get it back. Once we see whether or not this is in fact a bottom, if these lows are looking like they're going to hold, well, then we can set ourselves up and look for a possible buy. All right, like I said, the Raptor is going to be one of the first with the reverse opportunity, and that's going to come in the form of a number 2 signal, which will come after the retest here of the low. So there's the number 2 signal. I'm not sure I want to take it on the number 2. I will use a second push opportunity. So if I get, there we go. We got 2 bars lower. So I'm going to look to buy above that bar right there. If I get it. Here we go with a number 3 signal. Wow, we are in a bit of a sideways bind. All right, have it your way. I will look to short below here. I will look to buy above here. I could effectively bracket the trade with like an OCO type order. I could throw a sell stop in down here. I can put a buy stop in up here. Okay, so it just got filled to the short side. This was our profit objective down here. And you know what? It looks like we might be going to 7,000. So let's throw in a profit order around 7,000 and I'll adjust the trade accordingly. stinkers, huh? It took me out here on a little bit of a hiccup. I could not afford to leave my stops the proper 2 swings back, and it cost me. But if this trade does find its profit objective, I'll offset the loss and put a little extra to the good. Oh, wow. One false breakout after another. Man. The problem that we're experiencing now is that the trend is struggling. When we looked at the trade early on, when we first looked at the breakout and the sideways zone that developed, there was already a decent trend in play. But look at what's happened since then. We had we had a decent move lower. This was the trade that we took, the initial move lower. But now, every time the market tries to head lower, it also ends up struggling, which suggests that the trend is weakening. And that's exactly what we're seeing. Okay, I don't normally do reversal trades, but if I get stopped out here, I will look to buy. Oops. Shoot. Note to self, class, be careful what buttons you're selecting. All right, well, I stopped myself out a little premature there and got in. I got my order pending here now for the reverse. Oh dear. All right, we'll back that off for just a moment. And like I said, if the market is going to head higher, I suspect it's going to try to get back to the 70-40, 70-50 zone. All right, here we go. So this now, a little bit of a drawn out number 2 signal. So here's the retest, several retests actually. But that's what this is, another number 2 signal. Oh, I need to bring my stops up a little bit. There we go. Maintain my risk exposure. Come on. These sideways trading ranges are brutal. The big obstacle is right here. This is the zone we need to get above. Right there. Because this is the area that has contained the market to the short side. Every time they try to get above here, the sellers show up. Actually, I'm going to give this trade a proper stop. Oh, they're just brutal today. The grinding is unreal. Thanks, Ray. Ray says the daily range is just under 400 ticks today. Overall, like I mentioned, our ranges have been quite small. With these kinds of days, unfortunately, what you need is you need a very broad stop. You can see the market's lack of immediate commitment means that we're going to get a lot of deep pullbacks, a lot of sideways trading. If your stop is deep enough, you can usually survive it. Come on. They're thinking about it. Yeah, Mark says patience is critical too. Absolutely. A big stop and loads of patience. And here we come now with a number one signal. So they're intent on testing the bottom end here. Oh, wow. Yeah, okay, well, there you go. It's going to be that kind of day. Opportunities came early, and now we're just kind of in the sideways slop. Yep, small targets, Frank, you're absolutely correct. Small targets, a lifesaver as well in these kinds of market conditions. So ideally what we want to do is what we did originally, where we identify the trading range. We know the top end is holding. Now that we have the trading range, we have the breakout. We're looking for retest and evidence that the market will continue with trend or reverse. I'm not so sure I want to try another reversal trade. I might consider another with trend trade, this time with a decent stop. Okay, so now that we've got a couple of bars higher, this is the time you want to do your just in case order. Okay, they're going to try to break the top end. The hardest part, I think, like I said, when the market is like this, is actually just waiting it out. We're all so used to doing something. And it's starting to look like we're maybe getting a little bit more of a bottom forming. Certainly a lot of congestion here now around the 70-20 area. It was really thick here in the 70-40, 70-50 zone for the last few days, and now it seems like 70-20 going to be the next value. Okay, Ray, I have a solution for you with the Geiger counter. The programmer has gotten back to me. The solution, rather than clicking on the Geiger counter to bring it forward, click on your bars or your Raptor or whatever it is you're running and hold your shift key and then use your mouse wheel to move them into the background. And that will, by default, move your Geiger counter on top. So click on your lines, click on your bars, or anything else that seems to be obstructing it, and roll those into the background. Frank's asking, can we add the ATR to the Eagle like we did with the Raptor? Yes, you can. Or the Eagle on Ninja 7. And what you can do is you can select it here from your indicators and just apply it. And now we have the ATR there. That's a bit of an added filter. Yeah, good advice here from Mark. Mark says, these are the kind of days I practice my sniper mentality. It's good training. And, you know, one of those things that's a lot easier said than done, unfortunately. Yeah, Dan says, I took the late filter entry signal, and just as I got in, the market reversed. You know what it is? It's this sidewaysness, right? Context is always important. Probably the most difficult task as a trader is identifying trend. Identifying when you have a trend, and then conversely identifying when you don't have a trend. And just lots of back and forth right now. So you can see we're still really stuck inside this trading range. Ah, there we go. Mark says the Bollinger Bands might have been a saver for me on that late filter entry, and why I didn't take it. The Bollinger Band's not in sync with the signal. They will. It is a decent filter in the sense that it kind of gives you well, it confirms what you're seeing on the chart, which is always nice. But if you're getting a signal, you know, especially a with trend signal, the follow through will always be stronger if it's also in sync with your Bollinger Bands. Bollinger Bands, the idea behind them is that the area between the lines is kind of neutral. It's not really bullish, it's not really bearish. If it gets above the lines, now we're a little bit more bullish. If it gets below the lines, it's going to be a tendency to be a little bit more bearish. Mark says the mid cap is a sideways hot mess as well. I think that's kind of the theme today. And the sideways grind continues. Well, they're really liking this whole, like I said, this whole 70-20 zone. We've been stuck on that for, well, at least the last half hour. Here is now another great big retest of this low. Another hard edge bounce after a couple of green bar sells. I may choose to tighten up on the order if there's a little bit of a hesitation here. The Bollinger Band Suite already a little bearish. Trend definitely down. All right, let's tighten up on the order a little bit here. And if it fails to go lower, well, I don't know how early I want to buy into a reverse. All right, here we go. Getting a little bit of a reverse. Throw a just in case order in up here. That, again, maybe a little bit aggressive, but You can see now the eagle band getting very, very thin and getting to the point where it may turn over. If the market reverses from here and gives me a couple of bearish bars, I may try to tighten it up a little bit. Yeah, here the Raptor already with a number one signal. All right, let's go with that. So I'll tighten up here on the Raptor signal. That's going to be the number one signal. And now we got the market in a bit of a box. Well, what can I say? It's a boring trading day today. The market really constipated after an early move lower. Does make me think that, the longer they spend going sideways here, the more likely they are to head higher. If they can't continue the trend down, then there is a chance that they will try to rally the market up. right, we're look at how dead the market is. The macro line here in the hawk, very, very neutral. The falcon, just like a roller coaster. The cloud here in the raptor and the eagle just really twisted up like a rope. Okay, well, we can be relatively sure this resistance level is pretty solid. In fact, I would not be surprised to see a resistance zone pop up here in the next couple of days on the support and resistance lines. No, seems they're just perfectly content to stay where they are. Yeah, Mark's taken off. Mark says, wow, what a sideways mess. I think I've had my fun for the day. I'm heading out to do battle with the snow on the driveway. See you tomorrow. Hey, you know what, folks? We'll tough it out here for a few more minutes, but really, this is what we're looking at least here for the short term. And the temptation is there to try to do something with the market, try to make them, get into a trade, but it's not ready. All right, well, here we go. We got a bullish break. Let's see if there's any sort of follow through on that. I'll manage it here from the Raptor. So I'll leave my initial stop 2 full swings back. I'm not going to count this one as a swing just yet. Maybe we'll throw an initial profit target up here. It would be very nice to try to roll this trade out back to 70.40 or even 70.55. That may be asking too much. All right, I don't feel like giving this market too much, so I will take the trade to break even at this point. And hopefully they're not going to look too far back. No, not yet. All right. Oh, Simon has a question. Simon says, "Hi, Eric." Well, hi, Simon. I was looking at the trade forecaster. When you get some time, can you please show me some of the features? Thanks. Let me see. I'm not sure I have the trade forecaster. Well, I know I don't have it loaded yet on my chart. Let me see. Oh, I had it here and I didn't even know it. Okay, with your trade forecaster, when you set it up, you want to make sure that your market open time is in sync with your computer clock. So I'm on the Pacific Coast. The market opens at 6:30 my time. And I'm just going to clear the name just to make my chart a little bit neater. And I think the rest of it is all cosmetic. And has it loaded yet? Oh, okay, so trade forecaster telling me I don't have enough data loaded. That's right. Okay. So I need to go to my data series, and it needs at least 25 days of data. So let's make that 25 days of data. Thank you for asking a question, Simon, because it's just too slow otherwise. Okay, here we go. We have the trade forecaster. Okay, so the trade forecaster gives us the current trend and what it expects the next trend to be. The trade forecaster works much in the same way as the way a weatherman works in forecasting what the weather should be. So what a weatherman will do is they will take a look at cloud formations, air pressure, wind speed, humidity, a whole host of variables, and they will say, okay, the last time these conditions were present, this is what the weather did, right? The barometric pressure was such and such, humidity was at such a level, wind speed was so and so, we had these kinds of clouds, therefore it rained, or it was sunny, or whatever the case was. Trade forecaster works much the same way. It looks back over the last 25 days and it says, okay, the last time these market conditions were present, the last time the market was doing these kinds of things, this is what happened. We had a trend, we had a scalping environment, we had a swinging environment. Usually what happens is if we are in trend mode, there tends to be greater follow through on the move and smaller, less frequent pullbacks. Knowing that, if trade forecaster says you are in trend mode, you may be more inclined to perhaps extend your profit objective, maybe even have a runner in play. You may also be able to get by with a tighter stop on your trade initially. And that may in turn enable you to take an extra contract without risking more money. When the trade forecaster says we are in scalp mode, the follow through will tend to be less. The swings will tend to be more frequent and, generally speaking, larger. When you are trying to trade in scalp mode, to accommodate that, you will do better to take profit on target, maybe even decrease your profit requirement so that you can get in and out of the trade easier. And you'll probably have to run a larger stop and move it less often because the market will be more inclined to swing more frequently. Swing trading, the swing environment, as you might have guessed, falls right in between. So you're going to have a little bit more follow through than you will in a scalp environment. You're going to have a few more pullbacks, but not as many as you would in a scalping environment. If, let's say, if we were moving here, if we weren't moving directly into trend mode, if we were moving from scalp mode to swing mode, what that would tell me is that, okay, the market is loosening up a little bit. So we're moving from a very congested period from a scalp mode into a swing mode where we may see a little bit more follow through. We may be able to get by with a slightly tighter stop. I may be able to become a little bit more aggressive with my stops. If we were in a trend mode and we were moving into swing mode, the opposite would be true. It would now be telling me, okay, the market is starting to restrict a little bit. We are moving into an environment where things are going to become a little bit more choppy. So maybe I need to start looking at a profit target versus when I was in trend mode, maybe I just had a runner in play. Maybe my stops now have to be a little bit more liberal to accommodate a market that may be becoming a little bit more volatile. Yeah, like Simon says, yes, very choppy at the moment. Like trade forecasters nailed it bang on here this morning. Very, very choppy, very, very sideways. You know, a lot of people just avoid it entirely in scalp mode. People always ask me, well, if it's in scalp mode, should I just be trading the Hawk micro scalper? Well, yes and no. You know, the tools are all developed independent of each other. So you need to weigh each signal on its own. So just because we're in a scalp environment does not mean necessarily that you will make more money trading the Hawk scalper. You might find it a little bit easier because, you know, the signals, you already recognize the signals are not going to have as much follow through. You've already got the tighter profit objective. But you can do the same thing with your Raptor. You know, you can reduce your profit requirement. So here, for instance, let's say I'm going to take this number 3 signal and I'm going to look at doing it on a second push here. So if it gets a little bit higher, I'll look to buy above this bar. Well, actually here, I'll just put it in. It's just for demonstration purposes. Okay, so rather than have my profit objective up here, because we're in scalp mode, maybe I will bring my profit target in so that it now acts more like the Hawk scalper. So rather than look for $100 profit on the trade, I'll just look to scalp out with $50, $60. And I can do that because the market is in scalp mode, right? It's in scalp mode, and therefore I will be more inclined or advised anyways to take profit when I have it, as modest as it may be. It's still a profit. You know, people say you won't go broke taking a profit, and some people will disagree with that, and I get it. You know, if you trade, the people who disagree with it will disagree with it for the same reason I disagree with trading, and it has to do with overtrading. You won't go broke taking a profit if you have a reasonable profit and you don't trade too much. But a profit, no matter how small, is always preferable to a loss, even if you only cover your commissions. So thank you for that, Simon. That was an excellent question, and I think we will close up shop on that note. And tomorrow is Friday, so we'll take a look at another rabbit hole Friday. We'll explore another indicator. If there's something you would like me to feature, then, you know, feel free to shoot me an email. And I would be happy to feature whatever indicator you may be considering or whatever tool you may be considering. Simon's asking, it looks like there's a trending forecast in 8 minutes or so. As the market it is scalp mode currently. Would the scalp so reducing down? Okay, so I think what you're asking is, because we're moving into a trending environment now, does that mean that the market is going to loosen up a little bit? Yes, I would believe so. I would. Now, once we hit the trending environment, you'll have to see how long Trade Forecaster predicts the trend to continue. What happens very often when the market is choppy like this is it may come back and say, okay, we're in trending environment for 7 minutes. Well, you know, you're not going to see a monster trend develop in 7 minutes. Typically, a good trend forecast would be one that's anywhere from 30 to 90 minutes. Occasionally, we get those trend forecasts that say trend 235 minutes. Well, okay, but it's very unlikely the market is going to trend for nearly 4 hours, right? It just doesn't happen. So you do need to weigh what the forecast is as well. Use a little bit of common sense. We'll just wait it out here. It's only a couple more minutes. Yeah, Simon says, sorry about the spelling. Fat fingers. It's all right. I know there's more than a few hunt and peck typists in the room as well, but all right. So we're almost in trend mode. And like I said, trend mode does not necessarily mean that the market is going to, you know, take off like a shot and never look back. No, what it means is that the moves should have some greater follow through, but it also means that the pullbacks will be less frequent and smaller. If the market has no energy to it, it doesn't matter what the mode is. You're just not going to see a whole lot of follow through. Now, that said, very often we will see greater follow through in the trend mode, but it's not carved in stone. All right, so this is a pretty good trend mode. So we're in trend mode for the better part of the hour. It's not always instant. It may take a few minutes here to unfold, but it's good knowing that, okay, now the market may be inclined to give us a little bit of bigger follow through. Therefore, we can be open up to a bigger move. Here now is a number 2 signal on the Raptor. And I think what I would do is I would perhaps shoot a trend line down here. Oops. And look for a break of that trend line as a confirmation of this number 2 signal. Of course, if you want to be more aggressive on the signal, there it is right there. Here, why don't we just take it? There we go. So here, another follow-up number 2 signal. And because we are now in trend mode, I may choose to try to run my profit target a little bit deeper. Here's the bullish pushback from breaking the trend line or attempting to break the trend line. Come on. See, trend mode, like I said, it won't kickstart immediately, but at least we're kind of heading in the right direction. So hopefully we'll get a little bit more follow through on that trade. I bet you there's a trend line here that's giving us a little bit of static. Yeah, right about there. All right, gang. I've got an appointment I need to get to, but I will see you again tomorrow. If you are continuing to trade today, well, I still could see a pullback to around the 70.40, 70.50 area. The market spent a lot of time there the last few days. Otherwise, you'll probably do better trying to stay to the short side. Like I said, if there's anything you would like me to feature in the Rabbit Hole Fridays, don't be shy about sending me an email, and I will see you tomorrow. We'll talk to you then. Bye for now.